in the following way, just as examples, okay? But I go into tables here, and I define so db define table. What do you? I mean, I want to have like a friendship relation, okay? But okay, so no, it's just that testing this code will be a little bit hard, but I want to. I'm assuming, imagine a moment that in your site you have this feature, okay? That I can write the email address of another person, for example, you know, joe@ucsc.edu, okay? And I can say, assuming that the person has an account, okay? But I can say, please send to this person an invitation to be my friend. Okay, and then suppose that when the other person sees the email coming from luca@ucsc.edu and say, you know, we want to give him a sort of click to link, and when the user clicks that link, you know, the two of us are labeled as friends. You know, not very. So how would you implement these? And also, how would you search my friendship network for another friend? Okay, so suppose you have another email address and you want to know if this person is a friend of mine, or a friend of mine, or a friend of mine at level n, where n is the you know, the length of maximal length of the path that your friend can be. So how would you write this thing? Okay, so let me first do the algorithm part. And then I will do the insertion part of how to accepting the link friend either now or next time. But I want to do first the algorithm part to teach you how to look up things in the databases in a more sophisticated way. Okay, so this is a friendship, the name of my table, or maybe friends, or maybe friend, because I like the shorter the name, the better it is. Okay, field. I don't know, F1, and this is a db .auth.user, I guess. Actually, it's written db auth user. Okay, so this is a user. I'm not sure this is a good choice, by the way. There is so when you refer to a person, do you refer to the person by email or by user ID? Okay, so what are the implications of the two choices? Oh, let me see if the Hangout has started so that I can share the screen. So what are the implications of the two choices? Okay, if you share by email, I mean, if you refer to a person by email, you can easily refer to people who are not logged in yet, who don't have an account yet. For example, you know, in Piazza and in CrowdGrader and in many other tools, they do that. Why do they use email to refer to people? Because I want to say that, I don't know, Helen@ucsc.edu has access to the class even before she actually creates an account. Okay, so there is this big advantage in using emails. Now, what can the drawback be? The drawback can be that, you know, a person can have multiple emails. Okay, and so either you have, you know, some other way of essentially canonicizing an email in the case the user has multiple accounts, or it's going to be difficult. So these are problems that generally do not have a very good solution, even in the real world, right? It's difficult to make a system in which you can both refer to people who are not users yet, and you can refer to people who already are users but might choose multiple different ways of logging in. Okay, this is a problem that people who do real commercial sites usually initially completely punt. For the first year or so, they just assume that if you log in once at luca@ucsc.edu and the another time as luca@gmail, these are two different people. I'm sorry, you have two different accounts, but they don't give you an option to merge two different personas. Okay, and only later, when they can afford to do a bit more development and have a few more developers, do the right thing and enable you to merge these accounts, because it's generally a headache no matter how you do it. Okay, so in the case of my code, I will simply use references to people who are already logged in. Okay, so just I don't know, just because I need an example, but it is a real issue actually. Okay, and maybe I also have like a field. So I find it very useful. I find it very useful to always have creation dates of things I put in the database. Okay. Okay. So now assume that we want to write this function that gives me the list of my friends with a certain radius. Okay, where would I put it and how would I write it on top of the database? So this function is a function that might be useful in several controllers. So these chunks of code that are procedural code essentially, the best place to put them is as a module. Okay, so I can create a new file here that is called like friendship.py that will contain the functions to analyze friendship. Okay, and now I'll do the typical interview question. Def I don't know, friends of a user u radius is equal to 1. Okay, and so now I have the database and I have to find all the friends of a user u within a certain radius. How do you do that? Do you know it? Well, it's the usual graph traversal, right? So I have to essentially say something like new. So are you a friend of yourself or not? No. Well, I don't care. I think you are. New friends. I fix it later, okay? Because it's much easier to do it this way. The new friends is a set u, while new friends, while len of new friends is greater than 0. What do you do here? You say, oh, this is kind of inconvenient that. So can I remove an element from a set in Python? Do I have a pop from a set? Otherwise, a list might be better. I always forget these things. Python set operations. Yeah. So let's look at it. Union, difference, yada yada, add, remove x from set, pop. Remove and return an arbitrary element. Haha, that's exactly what I want. Okay, so I want what I want to do is this, obviously, right? I have a new friend that I want to see the friends of these, and some of these friends may already be in this set of friends, but the new ones I need to explore from those. Okay, so so I have essentially my friends, like old friends, is an empty set. Okay, so while there is a new friend, I do actually use a bad name, original user, origin user. Okay, I can say u is equal to new friends pop. So u is a user, and now I have to see who are the friends of u, right? And so one of the things I have not defined, and it was probably not such a super smart idea of mine, is this. These friends, if suppose a friend relation is symmetrical. So if I'm a friend of you, you are a friend of me. But the problem is, in which direction do I put it in the table? I mean, if I put Luca Helen or Helen Luca, or do I put them both? What am I supposed to do? I haven't said, right? So unfortunately, since I haven't said it, assume that I want to do both lookups, okay? And then I do essentially these. Direction 1 is equal to db friend f1 is equal to Luca. Oops. This is u, okay? Is equal to u. Sort of select db.friend.f2 and that's it. Yeah, I guess so. But then, you know, because I'm a crazy person, I like to do everything in a single blow. So this would give you an iterable object, and I can write a for loop, okay? But I'm absolutely nuts here. I want to teach you to the most concise Python I can. So I get this as a list. Why do I get it as a list? Aha, I get it as a list because I know that I can build a set on it. So this will build my set of friends. Hopla. Now I copy this line another time, okay? And I simply say dir one. In fact, I don't need dir one. I can simply call it f, okay? And I call it, and then I can say f is equal to make the union with this. Aha. Okay, so this will do the two bidirectional lookups. I'm removing all the duplicates, by the way, because set does the removal of the duplicates. So now I have my set of friends. But then I need to remove the ones that are old, right? So I have to essentially say something like this. So old friends add you. So you becomes an old friend, right? And new friends I add to the new friends what? F except the old friends. Okay, I think this code is reasonable. It might even be correct. And then I have to simply say return, because at the end of the loop, new friends will be empty, right? So I can simply say all the friends minus which user, because you told me that you don't want me to be a friend of myself. Okay, so this I think shows you a bit of things you can do on a database access. Okay, I'm not sure my code is correct because it's highly plausible, I would say, but you know, one is never sure. This is why I'm proposing, I don't know if it will be accepted, but that algorithm classes at UCSC will be taught in Python, because, you know, I don't think that in another language you can see quite so clearly, you know, the shape of an algorithm as you can in this way, by the way. So, sorry. So this algorithm works, and I think shows you a little bit how to work. Except it actually contains a very big error, and the problem is this. In db.py, it's not an algorithm error, it's a web2py error. In db.py, I define what the database object is, and so far we have used it throughout, right? In the controller, we can say db, and we can say a query to the db. So this, essentially, I told you that stuff you define in your models are available throughout your code. It's not quite true. They're available throughout your controllers, but they're not available in arbitrary pieces of Python code you actually write. How do you access, you know, this is a module, this is a piece of Python code. It does not know about the database. We are not passing the database as input to this, okay? You realize the problem, right? This thing does not know, DB is undefined if I run this code, basically. So what do I have to do? Well, the typical solution is this. The typical solution is that you go in db.py, and web2py has a sort of magical thing that is called current. Let's make the DB available from all code, okay? And let's say current is one of these storage objects like request, but it's available all over the place in the code. I can say current DB is equal to DB. So now current.db is a field that as value has my database. Okay, great. Now I can go into my friendship thing here, okay, and
I would have to change all over the place, which is quite boring. So what I do is this. I can say db is equal to current.db, so that I give it a local nickname, and then my code is a little bit more concise, just as a shorthand, okay? So this might work if I haven't made any other mistake. But of course, this also doesn't work because you know, current is not defined. And so I think I have to do from glue on import, and I think I can say import star, because the current object is defined in glue on. I believe so, at least. This I need to check, okay? But I think I will double check before I post this code. But I think that this is a fix, okay? And in order to use this module called friendship in one of your controllers, what you have to do is this: you go in the controller where you want to use it, which is say here, and you say essentially import friendship, and then you can use it. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of ways in which you can use the database in a sophisticated way in a backward in a controller. So notice that I made a mistake in my friendship, okay, because I haven't implemented the radius. So let me. These are all the friends of the original user. I sort of forgot when I was writing the code. Okay. Otherwise, you need to do this traverse in a different way. Actually, you need to reorganize this code. But now I don't want to, because my point was not really how to write this type of code. Okay. So where was I? If I how do you insert something into the friendship table? You do it as follows. Here, you do something like insert. No, sorry. DB friend insert. For example, auth.userid other user ID. So you can say, for example, f1 is equal to this, and f2 is equal to that. Okay, so a line like this would work to insert. Now, how would you enable actually an invitation mechanism so that I invite you to be my friend? Okay, how would we do it? Let me do this, and then this will be enough for today, because timestamps I come to tomorrow. Would you like me to do these examples of how to build invitations? Is this something that, I mean, I know that some of you want to put it into your projects to enable users to connect. I think it's not a bad exercise anyways, okay? So how do you do it? Well, the thing is this. If I want to invite you, I need to produce a link that you can click. And when you click it, I have to be able to know that you are acknowledging the invitation from me. Okay? And then at that point, and the click has to be, and the link has to be difficult to invent, right? Because I cannot allow you to just invent your own link that if you click it, you would become my friend. No, I mean, there has to be something that. So what I want to do is this: I want to create a link that contains. There are two ways, at least. There are always multiple ways. Let's map the two. At least a couple of ways. Maybe someone of you has a better idea. So, way number one is this. Yeah, I clicked on the wrong link before. So, way number one is this. I'm going to build a table, an additional database table called the invitations, okay? And the invitation table has, for example, user one, okay, has invited user two, okay, and then there is a sort of how to call it. Some people call it a nonce. So it's something random invented that you use only once. It's like the secret key for the invitation. So this would be one way. When I invite you, I fill in an entry of this table that says
Luca invited John, and the nonce is ABC 3725H7, or some junk like that, And so when you click on the link, I look up the nonce and I say, oh, that means that Luca wants to become friend with John. Now I put them both in the table. Fine, okay. This is solution number 1. Okay, using an invitation table. Using an invitation table has some advantages. The advantages are that here I can write a sort of other information. For example, I can put an invitation date. Suppose you are building a social site. I want to know, is Luca a popular guy, yes or no? Like when he invites people, do people respond promptly, or like they let it sit forever in their mailboxes, right? Is this invitation 3 days old or 3 months old? You may want to know that, right? And so having an invitation table gives you the place where to put it. So if you're building some sophisticated site, you may want to do that. Now, suppose instead your goal is this. You don't want to bother with invitation tables or etc. You want to just, the least you store, the better it is, so you can scale more. How would you be able to do that? Another way would be this. That you simply build an email that is a link that is built in this way, okay? So sort of, invite. This will be the URL. Invite, accept, okay? Then there will be, as argument 1, myself, like Luca at UCSC. As argument 2, there is this job at whatever, okay? And as argument 3, there will be a randomized hash computed out of these 2 parameters. Okay, so you take the 2 email addresses, you seed your hashing algorithm in some way, and then you put the randomized hash. So if I wanted to pretend that I'm inviting a certain instead of Joe, a certain, I don't know, Greg, whatever, okay. I don't know how to build the randomized hash for Greg. Or, if Greg wants to become my friend, he does not know how to build a randomized hash that for Luca and Greg will actually work. Okay, he will need the system to produce it, but he doesn't know how to produce it. And so he doesn't know how to create a link that would automatically make himself my friend. Okay? So this way, you need to be a bit careful with the cryptography, but I think it's actually would work fairly well. Okay, and it would give you a zero storage method for inviting people. I don't know which one of the 2 methods would you like me to implement quickly, or to try to implement. I am just not going to write the whole code, but I'm going to write the code that invents in this case, that invents the nonce, stores it, and then looks it up on the other end. And here I'm just going to do the code for the hashing. Preference for one or two. Raise your hand for 1. Raise your hand for 2. Okay, a bit fewer, but. Let me say that if you want to do 2, you just use hashlib in Python. It's a very good library for randomized hashing, incredibly easy to use. Okay, not randomized, but I mean for hashing, very easy to use. Let me do 1 just because it involves a bit more database tables as well. So, how would you do 1? We need db define table invite, just because I like short names always. Okay, so I want a creation date because why not? And then there is essentially so yes. The reason I'm thinking is this. Do we want to put actually here user IDs or emails? I don't think it incredibly matters. Okay. I can do these, as I guess.
Okay. So let me try to write the main snippets of code in another controller. Okay, so oops, sorry. So I mean, there is some code before, okay, but creates an invitation for a user with email, friend email, because what you know of another user is the email, and creates the invitation URL. So I'm just gonna write, the core piece of code. All the stuff around you can write it. I guess it's sort of easier. No? So I'm gonna do this. First of all, I need to know the user ID of my friend because we are reasoning by user IDs here. Okay, so I can say friend is equal to db auth user email is equal to friend email, okay? And I hope that the emails are unique, so I can say select first, okay? If f is none, so if there is no such friend, need to give error message to user, okay? But in this case, I simply write paths because I don't want to take care of it. I mean, well, if you want, you can say like message is equal to no such user, and you can return it later. But else you have a friend, okay? And so I need now to create an invitation. When I write code, I really, think out aloud in some way. And what I think out aloud, I write it as a comment. And I think it sort of, there was Don Knuth that always believed that you should literate programming, right, was what he said. So that a program is a piece of literature in which you should be able to read in two ways, with the code in it, or if you remove the code, you should just be able to read the comments and make perfect sense of it. And this is actually true. When I look at other people's code, quite often what I want to do is just read the comments and understand what the code does. And also, you know things about comments, that the most useful comments are the ones in which you explain what the code is doing in general and what is supposed to be true or happening at a certain location. You should not try to repeat exactly what the code does line by line. So never put a comment like, let's increment the counter because, well, I might be able to, well, okay, but let's add one to the counter. That's silly, no? I mean, if I read the line after, I see that that's what you're doing. But the comments, strip your code out and look at the comments. Can you make sense of what that piece of code is doing, yes or no? I think that's the test in the end, okay? So create an invitation. So we create an invitation, and what is an invitation? So random string is equal to, okay, there are infinitely better ways, and I'm almost ashamed, okay? But what can I do? Okay, this is not the proper way, okay? But the random module has you see, I would really like. So Python is beautiful in this way. If you don't find what you need, you can experiment. In IPython, import random, random dot, and this will tell me all the various things that I have. Okay. So what I'm essentially trying to see is there is one of these functions that just gives me as many random bits as I want. Where is it? Get rand bits. So if I ask for 64 random bits, okay, fine, I just get a long. That's just a long number, okay? And if I do, for example, string of these, this is not the most perfect thing in the world, okay? Because to be better, I mean, I probably would need to say import base 64, okay? And base 64 be 64 encode random get rand bits 64. Does this work? No. Yeah, but then it doesn't really work so well. Okay, so in fact, let's be lazy. That's good enough. Get rand bits, okay? So random string is a random get rand bits of, 128 bits. So it's really a very long random string, okay? So then I can say db in the invite insert, okay? f1 is equal to db of, of user ID. F2 is equal to what? To f.id, no, the ID of my friend. And how I forgot in the tables to create key, and key is just a string, so let me not add anything. Okay, key is equal to random string. Okay, so this inserts the invitation, and then you can do what you want. Def accept. I'm just writing the interesting pieces of code. Okay, so format. Oh no, let me write like the URL is equal to URL. So we have invite accept args is equal to what? Auth.user.email f.email, okay, and random string. So I'm going to build a URL that does not contain the user IDs, but contains the user emails. Why? Boo, because I like it that way. I mean, I don't know why, frankly. I was wondering about the choice, okay? But I think it might be a little bit nicer, and this way I don't leak user IDs outside to the outside world. But really, there is not very much of a difference. So format is you have email 1, email 2, random string. Okay, so this is a format, and so you can say essentially other is equal to request.args0. Okay, me is equal to request.args1. Key is equal to request.args2. Okay, oh, we are out of time. And then you can say sort of if me is different from auth.user.email, bad. Okay, and then you can essentially say invitation is equal to db dot invite dot key is equal to sorry, what did I call it? Key? Yeah, is equal to key. Select first. Okay, and then you check that this invitation is not null, and that also the other thing that you need to check is that invite f1 and f2 are me and other, and then you can do what you want and insert in the friends table. So I completed a few lines of code missing, but this gives you, I think, some idea of how to hopefully manipulate databases in a, and data in a fairly free way outside of the farm for helping insert. Okay.